gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Political Smackdown. I'm your host, Wes Westmoreland. We've got our usual crowd back again, Mike Philbeck, Betsy Wells, and Andy Dedman, and glad to have everybody back together. Well, to start us off, Election Day is around the corner yet again with a runoff on May 14th. Polls are now open. There are two races for Republican and unaffiliated voters who chose the Republican ballot in the primary for two important seats, the state auditor and the lieutenant governor. So if you voted in the Republican primary, I hope you'll get out and vote on this important runoff. But I guess even bigger news, the groundbreaking for the new Cleveland County Justice Center occurs next week on May 21st at 4 p.m. and the public's invited. This is the largest project, I think, in Cleveland County history and will essentially represent the county for the next 100 years. Let's discuss what this means for the county and take a look at some renderings of what we can expect when this project is complete. Andy, I'm sure you remember when we built the current jail and there was that old stone building down there. Yeah. This is a generational project. What do you think?
Well, I think, we've talked about this off and on a few times, and it is a good thing. I mean, I do remember barely that old stone building. I mean, it was kind of creepy if you want to know the truth. But I remember when this was built, and as we've talked about in the past, it was built as a bomb shelter when they built this one in 70, 71. And if you've spent any time, especially in the basement of this place, I don't know how they're going to tear the thing down, just to be honest with you, Wes. This thing's going to take, I don't know what it's going to take to blow this thing down. But the question I've got, and we've talked about it before, I really don't understand. I do understand why everything else is going in there, but I don't understand why the register of deeds is moving. It seems like ever since everything's been scanned and it's now on hard drives everywhere, I don't really understand the need. Now, I understand the clerk of court needs to be over there, as well as the sheriff's department, the jail, the courtrooms, the judges' chambers, all that, the DA, all that needs to be over there, and that makes sense to have everything there. But
I don't know, but tax mapping and register of deeds still need to be together because the professionals that use them use one, they use the other one a lot the same day.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I don't see the real need in moving that unless there's some other usage for that space they need. I don't see any need making this any more expensive than it needs to be. But, I think this is going to be a great thing. It's going to solve a lot of issues. One question, and I really hadn't had a chance to really look, I'm assuming communications is going to be there too, because that's currently in the basement there, and that needs to also be where the sheriff's department is, because that's got to be in a very secure location. People may not have ever noticed, but it's actually sitting in a vault with a door. It looks like it goes into a vault at some kind of a bank or something, because it is. I mean, you can imagine, it's like a guy told me one time when I sort of said, well, is that really that necessary? He said, what's the worst thing that can happen? You want to disrupt communications. So that's why it has to be in such a secure place. So I'm sure that will be there also. So this is a very well thought out thing. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some naysayers, there always is.
Oh, sure.
I mean, why would you spend this kind of money? But if you spent any time at all in the old courthouse over there, you understand the need for this. Yes, this is a lot of money. Yes, it is. And, we can thank Speaker Tim Moore. He's done his job going out the door. Thank you, Tim. big chunk of money coming our way, and the county commissioners have done their job. They're going to leverage this money the way it needs to be. And yes, we're still going to have to come off the hip for a chunk of this money. But I think long term, if we do this correctly, we're going to have a building that's going to serve needs of this county long after we're gone.
Yeah, no doubt. Mike, this is 315,000 square feet, and one entire floor is reserved for expansion, for growth that we know we're going to see with county government. But relatively small amount of local dollars, and certainly the Speaker and Senator Alexander and Representative Hastings have played a part in saving us money. What are your thoughts on this project?
Well, I guess it's 50 to 60 million in local money, isn't it? Ultimately, I don't sound like a small amount to me for a county of a little over 100,000, but
For 315,000 square feet.
well, it's 193 million is the kind of general estimate right now total. We've already got, what, 103 or 4 million from state appropriations courtesy of the Speaker and the legislature.
171 million is what was approved Tuesday.
Right, but, you know, these things tend to have cost creep over the time. That just goes with it. And I know they've been working hard. I know they have backed up and rethought and gotten other bids and done all they can to keep the cost down to make it where that it can be done within the budget. Obviously, it's a good thing. The legal community has lobbied. They needed it for a decade, at least a decade. And it started during the last county manager, and one of the things that's made it a little bit of a challenge is you've had a change in county leadership on the management side after initially getting some of the large grants from the Speaker and starting it. But if they get it completed by the fall of 2026, it'll be good. Now that picture you saw of it with the parking in the front, that parking in the front, I believe, is essentially where the current courthouse is. So there'll be a period of time, what they have to do is get this one operational they're going to build, move the courts and all the other stuff over into it, then tear this down to create the parking. So there'll be a parking situation probably for I don't know, at least a long period of months, if not a year or so. I don't know how long it'll take to tear that building down and make a parking lot.
I've got an important question. Is that going to be enough parking for Tasty Tea Drive-In?
I think that's the only piece on that side they don't own yet.
I think so.
That is.
But at any rate, it is a good thing overall. I know they're being as prudent as they know how to be. They kind of been handed this. It's been going on for a while. And they'll eventually have to go to the local government commission and borrow the last probably 50 million or so, I'm not sure, which should not be an issue. In fact, I know they've had conversations with staff at local government commission, so I think all that'll work out fine. But I look forward to seeing it. I'm kind of like Dean used to be about the bypass. I hope I live to see it and walk in it.
Yeah, well, Betsy, Republican or Democrat, aesthetically, this is a beautiful building, it looks like, and there's no question this is going to showcase, this is the centerpiece of the county.
I'm delighted that we're going to have a courthouse that looks like this. And they talk about it'll be the highest point. You can see it from any place in downtown Shelby.
Uptown Shelby.
And Uptown
Betsy.
Shelby. Is it Uptown?
It's Uptown Shelby.
Andy, I can't ever get that straight. Okay,
You say
Shelby.
tomato, I say tomato. I mean,
But, and I know my home county is Ashe County, a very small rural county in the mountains. And when they finally got a new courthouse several years ago, it just added so much to the town of Jefferson. And when I went to Lincoln County, they've got a beautiful new courthouse, and it just adds a lot to the pride within the county. And I know the sheriff's department has been wanting a new jail for a long time. And putting it all together, I guess the tax collectors will be over there also if the Register of Deeds there. But I'm looking forward to seeing it go up. But I too had wondered about how they were going to blow up, tear down the old courthouse, and when they were going to do it, if they were going, where they were going to put the new the people during the time. So I'm glad to know that they won't be tearing it down until the new courthouse is complete. But can you imagine they're going to have 9 courtrooms, I mean, it's just going to have so much space. I remember the old courthouse, you know, used to be upstairs at the, in the, you know, what's now the Earl Scruggs Center, and you had to go up all those steps, and there was no elevator, and one of the reasons that they moved and built this was to make it more up to date and have elevators. But I just think it's going to be a great thing for our county, and I look forward to seeing the construction. It certainly is a big hole, but Andy, I do hope that Tasty Teas hangs on. I mean, that's someplace downtown that everybody can go eat lunch from the courthouse.
Yeah.
Well, no question about that, and I think everybody enjoys eating there. But this is quite a building. The groundbreaking will be on the 21st of May at 4 p.m. The public is invited. Hope you'll turn out. And Mike, while I wish we didn't have to do this, this is the role of government: courthouses, sheriff's department.
Yeah, public safety is the primary role of government.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we can support our officials this way, and kudos to our county commission and past county commissioners. This didn't happen overnight, but I think there's been a lot of planning, a lot of effort, and a lot of intent not to let this get overblown, and find the funding to do it in a reasonable way for the taxpayers of Cleveland County.
And don't forget that in the change of administrative personnel at the county manager level, they didn't stop, but they paused to make sure they had a handle on it, to make sure that it didn't get out of hand. So give them credit for that.
Yeah, that states well for the leadership we have in the county.
And
We're going to take
also,
a, yes ma'am.
The other thing too is what Mike talked about. As we get into construction, will there be more costs that creep in? And I'm sure they may be thinking about that.
Oh, there'll be change orders
yes,
in a
yes.
project this size. There's no way around
we'll
that.
just see how much it comes out to be. And
Well, I would be shocked. I don't know the detail, but I'm pretty sure there's probably a 10% contingency built into this.
Oh, I'm
number.
quite sure, yeah. Has to be,
Yeah.
project this size. So thank you to our county commissioners, and we, the people of the county, look forward to seeing this building completed. But understand it's a lot of work to get to this point.
You did catch that. We found something Betsy's concerned about the cost of.
She was just being nice. That was I see it written on her paper. She's made a note here.
Well, Wes is over in favor of government growing, so I mean, he's already said that today.
Strange bedfellow.
I didn't say government growing. It's a fact, and we've got to have a building. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a minute with more Political Smackdown.
Tune in to Senior Moments here on C19 TV. I am Jackie Sibley Newton with Terabella Assisted Living. Whether you are a senior planning for your own future or helping someone make decisions, Senior Moments has got information to share. We talk about the wealth of services, activities, and healthy living options available to you here in our area. That's Senior Moments on C19 and also on C19.tv.
Welcome back to Political Smackdown. Well, there's a lot of news out of Davidson County in the last week or so about a student who was assigned a writing project that required the use of the word alien. The student raised his hand and asked if the context of an alien was from outer space or an illegal alien that had no green card. Apparently, a classmate took some offense to the question, and the student was expelled for 3 days, damaging a stellar record at the school. Even Webster's dictionary includes the term illegal alien. Betsy, has the woke far left finally gone too far, or is this a legitimate thing to expel a student for?
You don't know all the circumstances, but I can tell you this. Teachers have to maintain order in the classroom. And if there's anything that disrupts the learning and disrupts the class, any language being used, then that has to be taken care of. Now, I wondered after I read through all those things, those articles, who sent the students to the office? Did the teacher send the students to the student
Called
to the
in the
office?
assistant principal,
The
yes.
assistant principal found out about it, and then didn't she or he take the students in to talk to them? I don't think the teacher did it.
Well, he did take them in, and the
Yeah.
fellow who was said to have been offended was of Hispanic origin, and he said he was not offended.
He said it was joking, but and he said that he was going to kick his something or other, which is not language for the classroom either.
He said that was said in jest.
In jest, and the teacher said that it was sort of blown out of proportion, but.
But the kid was still
but
expelled
I-
for 3 days.
But I don't know why the student couldn't have said, "Can you define alien? What do you mean by alien?"
That's what he
Essentially,
did.
what he did was ask her.
No, he said, "Do you mean alien from Mars, or do you mean alien, legal alien with no green card?" And so the green card is somewhat offensive to Hispanics, and so I think it's gotten
why is that
overblown. I don't think the student should have been expelled for 3 days for that, and it got to the school board, and here they are now. The parents are suing the school board. Now, I'll admit 2 of the school board members, one being the chairman, resurrected the fact that the mother had been charged with arrested for possession of pain medication 14 years ago, and shared this with people and asked them to share it. I mean, it's really a big, out of control, I think, issue with the school board down there, and with the citizens and with the parents. And so when the student came back to school, they said he was harassed and bullied, and then so now he's homeschooled. So I just think it's a bad situation all the way around, and I think it's gotten blown out of proportion, and I don't think the student should have been suspended for 3 days. You could have done something else if he was not someone that was in trouble before. But sometimes, you know, administrators and teachers are just human beings, and sometimes I think they just went out of bounds, and especially since the Hispanic student said he was joking. But still, you just got to be careful about how you do things in your classroom. And now we're going to go to trial, and we'll go to court and see what happens. But I would say, Andy, that these 2 board members that shared the arrest of the mother, neither of them were Democrats. I just wanted you to know that.
Okay.
Well, it might as well have been, but
Oh,
that was a pretty reasonable
Listen
answer,
to-
Betsy. Thank
Well,
you. I agree. He should not have been suspended.
Not
And
3 days.
wipe the smirk off your face and give us an opinion on this one.
Well, I'm getting another migraine. I mean, Wes, I have no understanding at all why people are so hypersensitive about something. These were 2 kids. The first kid I thought was asking a legitimate question, needed to have some context. And the Hispanic kid knew it wasn't serious and said as much. This is almost like a solution looking for a problem. That's the way it sounds to me. Like
Tempest in a teapot.
there's no reason for this kid to have been suspended. None. There was no reason for the chairman of the school board to drag this up about the mother. What did that have to do with anything?
True.
Period. Nothing. It's 10 years ago. She did her, I guess she did her time and it's
Yeah,
over
yeah.
with.
Well, and she'd not only done it, she had reformed and had been one who was counseling people with drug addictions.
Right,
like
right.
she
So,
had.
I mean, so what's it about? I mean,
That's just
I mean,
punitive.
this is just, I don't understand it. Now, this thing has gone, it's everywhere on the internet. People are taking sides. Now people are getting mad with one another. I guarantee in Davidson County, somebody's going to be in a fight over this. Somebody's going to take a baseball bat to somebody. Somebody's going to threaten somebody. And what's it about? Nothing. Two kids, one didn't mean anything by it, another one didn't take any offense to it. So what are we fighting about? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's nice to have reasonable people on the left side of where we're sitting, Mike.
This one's pretty clear, and I wouldn't create a lot of discussion between parties, generally speaking, or shouldn't. But I think, based on all I've read, and I've read parts of I've read the whole disciplinary forms and where the assistant principal, Allen something another, signed them. I think most all of the blame lies, one, with that assistant principal who really overreacted. And that'll happen sometimes.
Sure.
Secondly, though, then it has to, not assistant principal, assistant superintendent. What? No, it's an assistant principal at that
It's
time.
assistant
So
principal.
then you got to wonder, why didn't the principal of that school get involved and overrun it? Then you got to wonder, why did the administration not look in and do it? And then finally, of course, with nowhere else to go, this was not appealable because it was less than 10 days to the school board under their policies. And it gets to one of my root issues with school systems in North Carolina. They have more policies than a tractor trailer load of Carter's back peels. They've got more policies, and sometimes those policies don't allow common sense to work. And I think that may be what happened here.
And the shame of it is the blemish on this student's record.
And then this is a 16-year-old track star trying to get a scholarship and working for it already. And he's got this on his record now, and that's been a concern to he and his mother. At the school board meeting that they have online, just like our school board does, I went over like 31 minutes into it and watched the 5 or 6 or 7 people that spoke. They all seemed reasonable and rational. A couple of them, I think, were local pastors that were concerned, in addition to the boy's mother. And it just seemed clear to me that, based on all you can know from 100 miles away and just news reports, that this should, as Andy said, never have happened.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that, and unfortunate for this student. Well, last week, rumors started to float that the Biden administration had halted arms shipment to Israel, which is our longtime and arguably greatest ally, certainly in the Middle East. That's now being confirmed as Biden has continued to prolong the defense of a sovereign nation following an invasion and massacre by Hamas on October 7th. America and North Carolina have hostages still held by Hamas, and college students are calling for the death of all Jews. Even some Democrats, Andy, are questioning the Biden response to this protest. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but can we not stand united against genocide and racism? Why are we prolonging the war? War is about killing people and breaking things. Let's let Israel finish.
Well, but one thing I do need, they have not paused them yet. Now, I looked it up under the Wall Street Journal yesterday, and the President Biden has threatened to pause it, but as of yesterday, he has not paused it yet. Now, he has said that he is considering that, and that has created some tension quite a bit. And I think what the concern is that there has been so many just children and women that have been innocent, that have been killed, have been just innocent bystanders. Yes, Israel has a right to defend themselves. There is no argument. They were the ones that were attacked by terrorism. They were the innocent bystanders in this in October. They were not the aggressors in this. They tried to defend themselves. And we can spend a whole show on this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Easy. So I don't want to hog the time. But at some point, everybody has to sit down and figure out how first to get the hostages released. There has to be a ceasefire for humanitarian aid to get in, because the innocents are starving to death. And we've got to have something there. But by the same token, people have to be brought to justice that have committed these atrocities against Israel.
Betsy, even Wall Street Journal says over 75% of the people in the Gaza Strip support Hamas. So I don't know how many innocents we have here, but what are your thoughts on this mess?
Well, the whole thing to start with was to try to get the hostages released. And yet there's still, so many of them are still there. And there's like 1.4 million civilians crammed into that little spot in southern Gaza now. And the 94 hostages are still in control of Hamas. And they also have 36 dead bodies. 36,000 people have been killed, 34,844 Palestinians, and 1,410 Israelis, including 92 journalists and 224 humanitarian aid workers. I mean, it's a horrible situation, and yet and like Andy said, something's got to be done. Yes, they're a great ally, but sometimes when you see somebody driving down the road on the wrong side of the road, even if they're your good friend, you've got to warn them. And I think that's what President Biden has done. And even though I hope that they can do something about Hamas. I mean, they want to eradicate it. Does that mean they have to kill all the Palestinians? I mean, I can see both sides of this. And Wes, I noticed that you left something out about the college students calling for death of all Jews. I think you meant to say some college students are calling for the death of all Jews, not all of them.
Some that loans are forgiven.
But listen at you. Here we go, West. Anyway, I mean, this is a bad situation, and we'll just have to see. And I commend President Biden for sticking to trying to be an ally, as well as letting the Prime Minister know that this is not going to fly.
Mike, we're talking about genocide. There are no two sides to this. There is one side, period.
The October 7th attack against Israel was the largest since the state's been reestablished in 1948 and killed 1,200 people right off the bat.
Killed, raped, pillaged.
Hamas won't release their hostages in spite of all the deaths that they've already suffered. The only way you get them stopped is to finish the job, which is what Israel wants to do. There are not two sides that are right. Israel needs to be allowed and needs to have full American support. Biden's trying to play politics with it. He's trying to placate the left side, pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian side of the party, while saying he stands with Israel. He's riding the fence, and he's going to get his scrotum hurt.
I certainly hope so. All right, let's move to the lightning round real quick. Andy, what you got?
Well, I read yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, since I'm getting ready to get a new knee, that now that everybody, hospitals, surgeons, all are asking for payment beforehand, which they have asked for that, because now they're tired of having to turn it over to collections and that sort of thing, that now they're getting the money up front, and they are doing that.
They're about as bad as real estate agents.
Hardly. They're not. We do stuff for free.
Betsy, what you got real quick?
Mo Green, our candidate for superintendent of instruction, was here at the Democratic Party event last Thursday night and looks to be back in the county more.
All right, well, as we record, I'll wrap up. This is day 217 that Americans, including one North Carolinian, have been held hostage by the Palestinians in Gaza. Thank you for joining us.